Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to be glad.
I feel like every time we start the podcast after that intro, you're always like, like life. Oh my goodness. Like, what's going on here?
Well, sometimes I find I feel like I need a vacation, like a long vacation. But then I think, okay, I went on vacation back at the beginning of summer.
Sure.
Went to Hawaii, had a great time, and I came back feeling more exhausted than when I left.
Okay. Well, that's probably just because you were back.
Oh, well, could be. And I keep thinking, I feel like all I do is work. All I do is work, study, and,
But if you didn't do that, what would you do?
I don't know.
See, I mean, you without the work, you don't have the money to do the Hawaii trip or the Alaska trip, right?
Or whatever trip comes next. I would love to get down to Florida. Sherry's got a sister that lives near Tampa Bay, which survived the hurricanes.
Yeah.
But and of course, one of my very dear friends, oldest friends, he lives on the other side of the peninsula near Vero Beach. And so I'd love to go back down there. So I don't know. But
I mean, since we're going to get into a topic on this, right? Like, what would you, if you were at the end of your life and looking back, what is it you think you'd want to do differently?
Ooh. I don't know. I'd have to spend a lot of time thinking about that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's, well, you and I talked off air about this, but I think that, I ran, okay, I chastise my kids for being addicted to their cell phones. And when I say kids, my students. Because every time, I'm always telling them, get off your phone. Oh, look, you're addicted to your phone. See, I told you. And yet sometimes I find myself as guilty as they are. And one of the things, now, maybe it is because I'm getting to be a little bit older.
Okay.
I like looking at those Facebook reels that talk about cooking.
Okay.
And recipes.
I do that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't feel so bad then. But I ran as I'm rolling through or scrolling through or whatever you call that. There was a one that popped up, and there are two people's voices that I think I could listen to all the time. One is Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
He's got a voice that is both soothing and entertaining to listen to.
All right.
Yeah. The other is Denzel Washington.
I can't do him.
Okay. I can't do either one, so I won't try. But
I'm not very good at McConaughey either.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I could, so I won't even attempt. So, but and I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of those two guys, and they were talking about the end of life and the regrets and regrets of life.
Sure.
And so, in doing a little bit of exploration and in talking with you, and then of course you came up with this website this link from the Institute of Aging. And so it's talking about the things that we learn a little too late in life. I don't know if I call them lessons, but they were talking to people who were at the end of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about their regrets. No regrets.
Okay.
Get a Snickers bar? No regrets?
No.
No. Bad joke on the bad commercial? Anyway, okay. So
I just don't know what we're talking about.
So, sorry. It was a bad joke on a candy bar commercial. Anyway, too much TV. Anyway, they were talking about things that people who were in their final weeks or months of life looking back and going, gee, I wish I'd done things differently.
I want to say, so what I'm predicting, right, is that they would have said something like, I'm really happy that I worked so hard in my life and spent so much time at work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what they were saying.
Yeah?
No.
I think nobody ever says that, right?
No.
So we work our butts off all our life, and sometimes we think that that's the most important thing in life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
in the end, it's going to be the thing that you go, why did I spend so much time at work?
In fact, I've been seeing some stuff, different places, saying how we work way more now than at any point in history.
We do.
That
because we do it at home, we do it at work, we do it in the car, we do it in our sleep. And we're constantly doing it. And
so it can wear us down. Even back in the Middle Ages, they said the church, you worked on it because they knew life was so tough. You worked about 250 days a year. Mm-hmm. The others were all days off. They were celebrations, religious holidays, all that kind of stuff. Now I think there's 7 federal holidays that most businesses will give you off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And 2 weeks vacation. So
yeah,
enjoy. So I thought, well, since we are a long way from the end of our lives, hopefully. And I thought, well, let's explore. Maybe we could make some changes now that would help us so that we don't get to, 30 years, 40 years down the line, look back and go, well, geez, I wish we'd done these things too.
All right. So what are they?
Well, the first one is courage. And they were talking about having the courage to be their true self. To not fall victim to what others expect from us, but to be ourself.
See, now I feel like this is something that for me, I hit at 40 and then I got really better at it at 50.
What do you mean?
Just that courage to be who I am. And, not that I won't, I'm not saying that I won't change.
Okay.
That I won't try to better myself. But if what I am right now is something you can't accept, I don't know what to tell you. Right? This is who I am at the moment.
Yeah.
And, if you can't accept that, then maybe we don't need to hang out. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I'm wondering too if this is my parents expected me to follow this path.
I mean, that could be.
And so I followed this path. Mom, I'm expected to follow in the family business, whatever that business might be. Dad was a firefighter. Grandpa was a firefighter. So I'm expected to be a firefighter.
Sure.
That kind of thing, when maybe you do. Maybe you really want to, but what if you don't?
Right.
If you don't, then are you living up to somebody else's expectation, and what does that do for you?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean,
one of the things that we value the most, and we teach this in class, right, is individuality, right? That's being individuals is part of our values as Americans, right? Freedom and individuality. So, it's something that you want to try to be who you really are and develop yourself into who it is you think you are.
Yeah, and I think that can, for me anyway, it's been an ever-evolving issue. Again, 55, and I'm going to change careers. I don't know, maybe not totally change careers. I think that being a school teacher involves a lot of counseling as you talk to kids and work with kids because they bring their emotional baggage with them to class. And if you can help them work through their emotional baggage, maybe just enough, they can do the content that you're also paid to deliver to them. But I just wonder, how many times do we fall into a trap of, well, I need a job. I take this job. I'm working this job. I don't really like it, but I need the money to pay my bills, to help raise my family, provide for my family. And then 30 years goes by.
Sure.
And you're going, son of a gun, I did not want to do this my entire life. This was a temporary job. This is going to be for a year or two.
Right. And
suddenly it's kind of like, man, I wanted to be this. I wanted to do that.
And I think that kind of leads into the second point, because we've often heard people say things like, find something that you love, right? And you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Right. So I think there's a difference between working hard and working for something that you value.
Okay.
Right. I think if you're working for something that you don't have a passion for or a value for, then you're probably just working hard.
Yeah.
And if you're working for something you have a passion for, that leads back to that happiness and that connection of, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And living true to yourself. So, I mean, I've done many, many things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Never really specialized completely in one thing until education.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm probably going to stay, although I won't stay at the same level. But that, that idea of doing what you love, right? I mean, a lot of people down education. I love coming to work.
Mm-hmm.
I like my job. I enjoy what I do. Now, do I love it every day? No. Do I have days where everybody has that. Right? Like you wake up and you're like, I could just stay in bed today.
Yeah.
I could stay home. I could do this other thing that I want to do. But, sometimes you have to push through, and your values help you do that. But for the most part, I don't feel like I'm working hard.
No.
I feel like I'm doing work that is valuable.
And I think that's kind of maybe where, again, what you said earlier, if you find something you enjoy, well, what do we enjoy? We enjoy things that have meaning, have value, and go beyond just generating money.
Right. I mean, for me, what I've discovered is that I really enjoy learning.
Yeah.
And the best way to learn is to teach.
True.
So I enjoy that every day.
Yeah. Well, and that brings us to, I think, like you were saying, the second one, which is, or the next regret was, I wished I didn't work so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I learned hard work value from watching my dad. And my dad would work, crying out loud. I don't know that he ever really worked less than a 10-hour day. And he would work weekends, so he'd work Saturdays. And then when he was in the evenings, or when he was home on the weekends, there was always stuff around the house. We were always doing, well, as he would say, well, let's go play some games outside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm here to tell you, they weren't kickball. They weren't baseball. Those games were, let's go to the garden.
Sure.
Let's go cut wood. Let's go, we're doing hard manual labor.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I go, well, that's me. That's what I was doing. This is what adults are supposed to do. But if you work all the time, well, then you're giving your life to the job. And you're not investing time on family,
right,
relationships, or things that make you happy. I mean, congratulations, you made the company millions of dollars, of which they shared a very tiny fraction with you.
Yeah, and you're going to need Social Security to help you through retirement.
Yeah.
I agree, right? Like, nobody's going to pay you back what you are really worth.
No.
Right. So you've got to find something that gives you more than just the money. And you've got to dedicate yourself to something that you have a passion for. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and finding that balance, that work-life balance that, we've talked about before. I see it more and more and more in a lot of, professional journals, even the stuff that our school district will send out. They're talking about, family first, and again, work-life balance.
And I think that connects to the next one there, where it says, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Right? Like, our mental stability is important.
Yeah.
And you can't just bottle everything up and expect that you're going to be able to have the wherewithal to do that passionate thing, that kind of work, or to hold to your beliefs, right? You have to be able to express yourself. Now, whether you do that in a counselor's office, or directly, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting that we just go blow up at all of our friends and in our relationships. You have to learn to how to do those things.
Yeah.
But that's a great start, right? Like being with a professional counselor, to be able to air those things and find out, how do I deal with this? How do I communicate this properly? How do I get my feelings out so that I feel better, but I don't just make the other person feel like crud.
Right.
Right. I mean, again, you're the counselor. I don't know where to go with that.
There are correct ways.
I mean, I'm sure I do most of the incorrect ways.
No,
but I mean, it's I'm throughout life, I definitely have at different points. But yeah, I mean, you have to get it out.
Well,
right?
And I think that goes to being honest.
Okay.
Expressing your feelings. If you're constantly doing what somebody else says or what somebody else wants.
Right.
And, they're always going, ooh, I like eating at this place. I could eat here at least once a week. So you're always eating there once a week because they want to.
Right.
And you're going, God, I hate this place. I absolutely hate this place. But I don't want to say anything because I don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
Well, I think that it's okay to occasionally say, well, I don't know that we need to eat here once a week. Or you can honestly say, I just really don't like Chinese food. I eat it because you like it. But I think having that courage to share that I'm not as in love with it as you are, or I know you like it. I do it because you like it. I really don't. Being able to, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to be disrespectful. But I think if you were to be honest and let somebody know. I mean, if Sherry comes up to me and says, do these pants make my butt look big? The answer is always, oh, I know. And it'll always be no.
That's
no,
a trap,
not at all.
Now you're either, well, I don't even want to say.
So
I don't even want to say. I'm not getting involved, Sherry.
Right.
So you can deal with him at home and be honest with him there.
But I think, though, that it is being able to be honest and not hold in a lie.
Right.
I think is kind of what they're saying here. Not just kind of flip off and blow up every time or, rudely express yourself. I think taking the opportunity and say, hey, this is where I land on this.
Right.
So,
but understanding too, like because in the article they're saying that politeness has been preferred over authenticity, and when I think of that statement, I think of things like political correctness.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sometimes we go too far with some of that, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't want to get into all the things about.
No, I'm with you.
All of that, but sometimes we just temper what we say to people in an effort to just always have them feel good, even if we still feel like garbage. And you don't want to turn that around and make them feel like garbage just because of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, we always talk about listening and understanding and all those things. So, I mean, you definitely want to understand where the other person's coming from, and you definitely want them to listen to you. And so you just have to have that two-way street, right? And you have to be open enough in your relationship. And hopefully, if you can't do that with friends, you can at least do that with whoever your partner is in life, and have that authenticity there.
And
if you can't do that with your friends, you might need to adjust or pick some new friends.
Well,
because they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You're not being authentic.
And when you lie to yourself, well, that creates a whole bunch of mental health issues.
Right.
And so avoid them by being honest. So, well, I'm glad you mentioned friends. I've been really blessed to have some fantastic friends from the youngest of days to now. And the next regret was letting those friends disappear. And I will admit, I have a regret in this capacity. One of my dearest friends growing up, his name was David Butel. And I mean, we were friends from, second grade on. I mean, we were in first grade, second grade, and we just became good friends all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, first few years after high school. And then when I moved away to college, I didn't stay in touch with him as much.
Right.
And I would go back home to see my folks, or my other friends back home. And I need to stop by his house. I need to stop by his house. And that was always going to be next time. Well, I'll make sure next time I plan time.
Sure.
And that never happened. And then he passed away here about 13 years ago.
Wow.
And I felt horrible that I never made the time to pit stop to meet his wife, to meet his kids. And to this day, that is a regret. And so I've worked hard to try and not let that happen to other friends.
So I'm not really super connected to the friends that I necessarily grew up with. I do have some Facebook groups where I still connect and occasionally comment, but I wouldn't say that we're like connected in any kind of a way. With high school friends or with, I was in a drum and bugle corps for a while and connected with some of those people. And, it's, again, occasional conversations, not seriously connected to them, though. Like, I don't visit them. It's not, like, physically, right? So if social media wasn't there, we wouldn't be connected, right?
Okay.
So I think of the ones that I'm connected with both through social media and without social media, right?
Right.
So, and those people, and they're not plentiful, right? But there are certain people that I've connected with that I will actually go visit in another state, that I will take the time to see them.
Yeah.
Sometimes every year.
Okay.
Despite the traveling that takes place. I mean, I don't necessarily go there specifically for that purpose, but if they had a family crisis, I might.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so but I think it is important to find those people that and stay connected with them. And I that's a regret I don't feel like I will have. I am still connected with those people. I call them when I'm struggling with something. I talk to them on the phone. I text. I use Facebook or social media, and I physically see them.
Yeah.
And so those are the real connections.
That was something that I learned from my parents, and they stayed friends with when they moved from Kansas to Arkansas, when my dad retired from the phone company, they still maintain those friendships.
Yeah.
They've been, 33 years since they lived in Kansas, and my mom still talks to them when she goes back to, or, when my dad was still alive, they would, people would come to see them. They would go see others.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Steve that lives down in Florida, crying out loud, we've been friends since we were 5 years old. And my friends Tom and Cindy, we all grew up together, middle school, and Tom and I elementary school, middle school, high school, and we still make time to go visit each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad, because I've had people I've worked with, that we were good friends when we were working together, but we stopped working together, and now we don't really see or talk to each other.
Yeah.
But I will say that has been a perk or a positive of social media. It does allow you to take some time. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to send a text message with a funny little meme attached.
Right.
Saying, hey, happy Friday, or, it's hump day.
Yeah.
Just a little, hey, thinking of you.
Right.
But that then brings us to the last regret. And that was, I wished I'd let myself be happier.
See, and I think this leads back to what I was saying initially, is that kind of happiness, like some kind of an innate happiness that you have, like you develop a happiness of your own that should transcend everything else, such that when a hard time comes along, you can get through it and you can still have some level of happiness despite that. Now, obviously, we have tragedies, right? Which certainly drag us down into the depths. But coming out of that, you should still have that same happiness that you had before, right? Like some level. So I just think that you don't want to let anybody steal that from you.
Yeah, well, and we did the episode, Carl Jung's suggestions on things that we can do to make ourselves happier.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think this is probably my favorite of them all.
Yeah.
It is okay to be happy and to do things that make you happy, not at the detriment of everything else. Okay, not at the detriment of your family, not to the detriment, of all the other aspects, it makes me happy to race cars and run people over. Well, okay, that maybe not be the thing that you should do.
Right.
But I think that it is okay to, pursue your dreams, to do the things no matter what. I made a pivot. This is going into counseling and away from education. I'm moving from the classroom, but it's still within what I've been doing for a long time, and that's educating people, working with people.
Right.
And so sticking with things that can make you happy, it's never too late.
Yeah.
You don't have to say,
I think that, I've thought about this recently.
Okay.
As I've read books that talk about these very things. And it just leads me back to it. And I'm not, I've always been a Christian, but I've never really memorized scripture very much, right? Like,
right. Yeah,
like, as far as chapter and verse.
Right.
But I do know that in, having taught some history of different religions, that frequently there's this idea of, having joy in the midst of sorrows kind of thing. And I know that's those are scriptures that are out there.
Okay.
And it just made me think as I read some more about happiness, I feel like that's what it's really talking about. I feel like that's that kind of scripture, that kind of idea out there in religions is suggesting that you need to have a happiness that takes you through those sorrowful times. Regardless, right?
Okay, yeah.
And that you can maintain that through, and then you can keep it, and that nobody can take it from you.
And
I
that's,
think it's very important.
no, I completely agree.
So you're not controlled. You're not, necessarily your circumstances aren't going to constantly alter your emotions and your state of being.
Mm-hmm. The last thing here, and I thought it was a nice summation of all of this,
Mm-hmm.
is that to put it, if we could sum this all up into one single sentence, I think it would be that these people who volunteered this information regretted not having the courage to live their life the way that they wanted to.
Mm.
And so I as we did this, as we walked or talked through this, it was kind of like, I want to not make these mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to start living your life the way you want to.
Well, you only get one life, and so you can either let somebody else run it for you, or you can run it for you.
And
I'm betting that if you run it for you, you'll be happier than if you let somebody else run it for you.
Well, yeah, because who knows you better than you?
Right.
Anyway.
Excellent.
Well, that's all I got. I've scraped the bottom of the barrel, but hopefully we can do things that'll make us smile, make us happy, a lot less stressed.
I believe we can.
More authentic. So
I believe we can, no matter what.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
then I guess that's where we'll close for today.
All right.
So until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
Goodbye.
Don't worry.
Be happy.